Let's talk about the track Sinister, the title track. The title track came from my slam show, which was a drum show with 5 drummers and a guitar player. The guitar player was Artie Dillon, who ended up playing on the Sinister track on the Appice album. So I had approached Artie and said, look, I want to use this song, but I need to make it so we could write a song with lyrics and everything with it and keep all the cool drumming parts we had in it and the rhythms and stuff. So me and Artie worked out an arrangement, and Artie put together a track with a click that had the guitars and a couple of synths on it and effects and this and that. And we took that track and we added bass to it with Jorgen Carlson from Government Mule, who played bass on that. And then me and Vinny put the drums on in the studio. But we didn't have any vocals. And Doug Pinnick was going to put the vocals on it. And it ended up that we didn't have the time for him to do it, or he didn't have the time, I should say. So after me and Vinny put the drums on it, we had to organize and figure out bar-wise where the solos were and how the solos were going to fit together. And the chorus goes into a double time and all that. So once we did the drums on it, and we had the full track except we had no vocals. So after we figured out that Doug Pinnick was not going to be able to do the track, I got on the phone with Jim Queen, our singer, who sang 4 or 5 songs on the album. He's been with us for a while. And I hummed a melody to him and a melody to the chorus. And he basically took those melodies and amplified them a little bit in what he does, added some cool lyrics, and there you have the song. And he did the vocal, and when he sent it to us, we thought it sounded great. And that's pretty much how that song developed from my side of it.
The song Sinister is the title track to the new record, and it's a song that was actually written a while back when Carmine was in his touring band called Slam. It was a drum show, and they used to perform that song live and get great crowd response. So he sent me the music, and I thought, well, this is very interesting. I like the way that the guitar, kind of goes against the drums. So I figured when I did the vocals, it would have to go against the guitar and the drums and be very melodic at the same time, and that's kind of how we came up with the melody. And the song's actually written about a movie I had seen many years ago where if you went to this river, this evil presence was waiting there for people to come there, and they would try and take over your soul and change your identity into something very evil. And the only way to stop it would be to think of who you were in the past and what you inspired to be. So I thought that was a great concept. I thought what a cool way to kind of write this song in this melody that was so chaotic but yet pretty at the same time. And as the song would progress, and towards the end of the song, where it became very melodic, is when I put the melodic vocals to it, and I thought to myself, well, it's got to end on a positive note. So when I played it back to Carmine, he was, very happy with the way it came out. So we tweaked the melody a bit, and we were trying to come up with a title, and he said, I got a great idea, let's call it Sinister.
The song Monsters and Heroes has been around for a few years. It was recorded originally when Ronnie James Dio passed away, and we were recording a King Cobra record with Paul Shortino as a singer and the original King Cobra guys. And one day Paul said to me, I want to write the song about Ronnie instead of the subject matter we were talking about, which is just like horror movie stuff. And I said, that would be a great idea. And when he came up with the lyrics, I thought it was fantastic lyrics. So we did record the song, and we offered it to Wendy Dio as a song that they were going to put out on their label, the Ronnie Dio label at the time, and use that song and take any royalties that was made from the song and donate it to the Ronnie James Dio Foundation, the Cancer Foundation. So that's how the song started. And then when, after maybe a couple of years, I noticed that the song wasn't anywhere to be had. You couldn't buy it anywhere, you couldn't hear it anywhere. So I made note of that, and when we got the record deals, or the pledge deal happening, which started the album, I noticed that maybe this would be a good song for me and Vinny to do on this album, because he played with Vinny. Paul Shortino was managed by Ronnie, and I knew Ronnie since in the days of Elf. So we sort of know each other and everything. It was a very close relationship with the three of us. So I played the song for Vinny. He loved the song. So we took the Pro Tools apart, and we added Vinny to it, took some other things on and off it, and remixed it, redid some of the vocals, we did a whole bunch of stuff, and we came up with the song. And I played the original drums on it. So Vinny, when I gave him the track, I said, okay, you gotta do what you want with it, play with me, play against me, and really try and make it a, like something unique, like we're doing on the rest of the record, where I was going to be on the right side of the mix and Vinny would be on the left side of the mix. So Vinny started doing that and came up with his own stuff.
But when we started writing Monsters and Heroes, we were thinking about things that go bump in the night, Boogeyman and things like that. And then the more we thought about it, we're in the studio in my house. I went, Ronnie, he's a monster vocalist, and he's my hero. So that's kind of like how we triggered off into trying to take some of his songs and some of my lyrics and Carmine's and kind of putting the puzzle together to be a tribute to such a great talent and a great artist. Anyways, I hope this kind of sums up how this song was put together. See ya. Big love.
Killing Floor was a cool song that was presented to Vinny by Craig Goldie. And it's presented in the demo form with Chaz West singing it and Craig Goldie playing bass and guitar. And there was some other drummer on the demo. When we got the demo, we did some rearranging and some arranging, and we put our stamp on it by putting me on it first. So Carmine did the first drum track on it, and then I had to send the song to Vinny, and Vinny was going to either play along with me or play opposite me. So the song was already sort of structured, but we had to put our stamp on it and change the groove and do the drum fills and add to it, subtract to it. Sometimes in these songs we did editing to make the song a little different. But we did have the original, all original vocals that Chaz did, and we started putting the song together. Now, I love this track because when I put it down, I played the track, I played the groove really simple, and initially finding out that there was some really tricky little time signatures in the song, like 5/8, a section, one bar of 5/8, or a bar of 6/8 in the middle of all the 4/4 timing. So it really screwed me up, and eventually I had to sit there and count the bars and write it like a chart. So after I did the actual drum track, I made it simple enough where if Vinny was going to follow me, he'd be able to follow me, and we'd have this monstrous backbeat, really heavy groove. And then I left spaces open where Vinny could go back and forth with me and play drum fills to answer my drum fills in between vocals and power parts of the song. This also created some cool dynamics in the song. So to me, it was a really cool way to record. And again, I was on the right side of the mix and Vinny was going to be on the left side. So after I did all my parts, I sent it over to Vinny, and then Vinny added his embellishments to it. And when it came back, it was awesome, And when we did complete it, Craig Goldie and Chaz both loved it. They really loved the track.
Killing Floor was the song that we heard that Chaz and Craig recorded in the studio with another drummer, and we really liked the song, so we thought it would be great for our album. So we wound up taking the song, redoing a couple of parts, and then putting our drums on that particular song, and it came out really well. It's a really great song, but that's the way that one was put together.
On the song Danger, this was done a little differently. Vinny had did a track with a European guitar player named Iggy and Tony Franklin on bass. And when he played me the song, I said, wow, this is a really cool song. Now, at that time, we didn't know whether we were both going to play on it or just Vinny played on it, because we have been using the concept of our live show on the record. Some songs he would play on by himself, some songs I would play on by myself. So at the time, I just liked the song, and so we took the song as it was, and we got original tracks that Iggy did, sent to Vinny, and then when we had the track sort of put together, we did a bunch of edits. Vinny did a bunch of edits. He sent it to me, and I'd check it out. He'd say, "What do you think?" And and that's how we did a lot of these songs, because it wasn't really done in one studio with a band. It was done with all these different people, and it's a lot more difficult to do it this way than actually getting 4 guys in the studio. So after we had the track pretty much set, then we sent the track to Jim Crean, who again was our vocalist for a few years now at the live stage, and he came up with some really cool melodies and everything. Then I remember he sent me the melodies and the lyrics, and I suggested to, I think add some of the parts where it said danger more often, and let's title the song Danger. And and so between me, Jim, and Vinny, the song was put together. And Vinny did a lot of editing and a lot of piecing together the song, which really made the song structure a lot better. And so it ended up Vinny played the song by himself, but I was very happy when I heard the song completed and, as a song, because to me it reminded me of a really good deal kind of song. So that's Danger.
Danger was a song put together from some ideas from Iggy Guadaro, who played guitar on that and on our album. He's a 17-year-old kid from Poland that plays his ass off. And I did an album with him called Whammy, and that was with Marco Mendoza and Doogie White. And these riffs that he sent was supposed to be for the second album of Whammy. So I went ahead and put them together, put drums on it, and then sent it over to Phil Soussan, who put bass on it. And then we had a song with no vocals, and when this album came up with Carmine, I decided to play it for him, and he liked it, and we sent it to Jim Crean to put lyrics and vocals on it. And then we just tightened it up, and there you have it.
Danger is a great hard-driving song off the record, with powerful drums and screaming guitars. When I was given the music, I had the words already written for that song, but I just needed to put together a great melody that would complement, the guitars and the drums. And I felt we accomplished that with a very Dio-esque sounding song. It's a very powerful song off the record.
Drum Wars. Now, this was the title of our touring and our shows for many years. And what Drum Wars, it was actually written originally on my iPad that I duplicated some of the drum parts and I duplicated the guitar parts. And when we actually started playing it live, we had the live guitar players playing it live. And but what we did was we took the original arrangement that we had on our live show, and we also had the same arrangement on a live Drum Wars CD. And when we took that arrangement, we thought that we wanted to make it a little different and add some guitar into it a little bit, and make the drum passages a bit more involved and a bit more, like what we did some of the stuff on stage with. We used the Korg wave drum and created these electronic wave drum sounds, and so we wanted to incorporate some of that and incorporate the guitars as well. So we had the outline of the song, and the song was done on my drum set at Jorgen's house in the San Fernando Valley, and we had the Appice sisters originally played the track, and later they would be replaced by Jorgen and TJ T-Bone Anderson, who also played gigs with us on the West Coast. And we had to use the Appice sisters as like our basis for the tracks, so we can build everything off of that basis, off the foundation. So we did that with the first 5 or 6 tracks, like Sinister. Well, actually, Sinister was done with Audie, but we did it with Riot. We did it with You Gotta Run, Drum Wars, and one other one, In the Night. So, and then we built everything off that. So in Drum Wars, we said, okay, we'll keep the original structure for the beginning, and then we did the drum tom-tom parts, and we did Vinny's parts against that, and we did second drum tom-tom parts and my parts against that. And then Vinny kept saying it wasn't as interesting to him enough. He kept wanting to make it more and more something a little bit more interesting. So he started adding the wave drum, and he added the wave drum in a way that we used the wave drum on stage. And it actually did add to the rhythms of the drum part that we were looking at. It gave it a really nice, good lilt and a good groove. And then after the second one, Vinny wasn't in the studio at the time. It was me with the Jorgen and T-Bone. I said, it would be nice to do a guitar solo after the second one. So we edited in some space for him to do like a guitar solo. I kept saying, try and do like a heavy version of a Jeff Beck kind of solo, So he did that, and I thought he did a great job, And then when Vinny heard it, he thought it was a little long, so we edited it down to make it, a bit where it is now. And then we had to put the Drum Wars singing on it, so I went up to Vinny's house, and around the corner from my brother Vinny lives my brother Frank. And my sister Terry also came to the house. And next thing you know, Frank, me, and Terry are in the studio, and we're singing Drum Wars. And we're singing the Drum Wars part. And then when we sang it, it started sounding to me like horn parts. So we sampled them, and we stuck them in at different places, so they almost sounded like horn parts, And in the end, it came out really, really good. And then we had this really wild ending that we had put together with the Appice sisters. And we took that ending when we played live, and we put that ending at the beginning of Drum Wars, in between Mob Rules and Drum Wars. And that worked really great. So that's how Drum Wars really came about. And it's been one of the songs we've been playing ever since 2012, I think. The song Riot came about by using the same concept we had before in our live show, where we would do some songs by ourselves and some songs we play together, and some songs were history songs. So Riot was definitely one of my history songs, and with the fame that Riot is basically having now, because we didn't do a lot with it, and the album became an underground hit, and people really wanted to hear Blue Murder all around the world, wherever I went. I thought Riot would be a good song to play, and we tried to keep it very similar to the original in groove. The groove might be a little faster or slower, but we tried to keep the same kind of vibe. And But when we went into the middle section, we were thinking that with all the crazy riots going on today in the world, and how this song could be sort of attached to what's going on in today's world, really. So we ended up changing the key and going down to a different key than the original. And in that, we took out the wave drum again, and we started creating a very military sounding thing with sound effects and sirens and newscasts coming off the TV of riots and everything. And this became like a whole new section for the song that was great, because I'm always one who say, why do the song exactly the same? We actually did extend the chorus a little bit, and we had a little bit of a James Brown kind of augmented ninth chord every other bar to change it. We had no keyboard on it at all, which the original had keyboards, and it came out really good, And then out of this crazy middle section, we went into the solo and went into the bridge, and then the riot chorus out, and then the solo out. And when it was all done, then we said, well, who's going to sing this song? So we were thinking of Jim Crean singing it, and then I thought of Paul Shortino, who we've been working with. He's worked on 4 songs on the record, and I love Paul. He's like a brother. I know he worked in the Rock Vault show in Vegas, and I thought, Robin Cauley, he'd sing this great. So I called Robin, asked him if he was interested. He said he'd had to hear the song. So Paul played him the song, and then he said he would do it, and Paul took him into his studio and worked with him on producing the vocal on the Riot track. And both of them did a great job, because I thought Robin's vocal was killer on that track. And now when we do it live, we play it live together, me and Vinny. The next song, Suddenly, this is an interesting song because Vinny got the track from a young guitar player in France, I believe, named Chris. And Chris had a really cool drum machine part on the song. And when we both heard it, we said, wow, this is a cool drum machine part. And so we had to decide, first of all, who to put on this track to play bass. At the time, I tried to put some bass on it. It did not work. I'm not a great bass player. But just as a demo, just to get an idea of what it would sound like with that kind of rhythm with the bass. And that didn't work, so we got Tony Franklin to put the bass on it. Tony lives right near Vinny in California. And Tony's like my brother. I love Tony. He's one of my favorite bass players. And he's played on, 4 or 5 tracks on this album. And so we gave Tony the track to put the bass on. So after he put the bass on it, Paul Shortino was working on the vocals, and it was an interesting track because it was very hard to find a place to put vocals, and lyrics, But I know Paul is a great lyricist and a great songwriter, and I said, Paul, what do you think? He said, yeah, I can do this. So Paul, we gave him the track, and he came up with the lyrics that sort of went right in between the guitar riffs, which was beautiful. So now we had a melody, we had a cool drum riff, we had the bass on there, and we had choruses. So we decided to do this one a little different, maybe not do the left and right drum thing, where I'll be on the right and Vinny be on the left. We thought that let Vinny do the intro and I'll do a verse, and then Vinny will do the outro, and then I'll do the second verse, and Vinny do the chorus, and I'll do the middle. And, it was like that. We alternated. And you can tell the difference on who's playing because my drums were done analog and Vinny's drums were done digital. Pretty much on the whole album, it's like that. So we started doing it. So I did it first in my studio I've been using in New Jersey. Vinny sent me the elements to play to. So I had everything. I had the vocals, I had the bass, I had everything. But we both decided that we're going to do this particular track and keep that drum machine groove going because it was a really cool drum machine rhythm. So that's what I tried to do. I tried to stay approximately what the drum machine was doing. And then I sent it to Vinny, and I left the parts open where he was going to punch in and do his parts. So, because, we weren't doing left and right, we were doing the track, we were both in the middle, and where I stopped, he started. Where he stopped, I started. So we had to map it out and then play it. So I played my part, I sent it to Vinny, then he sends me his part back. He didn't stick to the drum machine at all. He was like playing all around the song, just like we normally do. And I called him, I said, why are you playing? I thought we were sticking to the drum track, the drum machine. And he said, yeah, but I thought it was a bit boring, so I thought I'd go a little crazy on it. I said, well, that's great, because now I have to take it back and redo my part. So that's what we did. I had to go back and redo my part over again to fit what Vinny was doing. Otherwise, it would have been lopsided. I was playing very simple like a drum machine, and Vinny was playing like Vinny. So that was an interesting song, the way it came out. And it's the only song on the record that has me and Vinny playing straight, where I stop, he starts, where he stops, I start. The rest of the album are either right and left, or both of us played, our individual songs. So it came out very interesting, actually, and I'm sure Vinny would have a lot to say about it.
Suddenly is a song that we put together. The guitar player is Chris Godin, and he's in France, and a friend recommended him, and I listened to some of his stuff, and he's an incredible guitar player. And then I asked him to send some riffs and ideas. We're looking for songs. So he sent about 3 or 4 different riffs and ideas. And within those, I edited together what I heard and thought would sound good. And then he redid his part and sent me the guitar track. And we made fine-tuned changes, going back and forth on the internet. Then when we got what sounded like a good structure, went ahead and put drums on it and then bass. And the funny thing was I put scratch drums on it, so I didn't play much. And then I sent it to Carmine, he played on it, on his parts, and then I sent it back to myself, and then I redid my drums, and I really went crazy on it. And Carmine heard it and said, I didn't know you were going to go crazy on it, now send it back to me, now I have to play more. So we had a little competition going on that song, but it came out great, and some great guitar solo in it.
The song In the Night started also on my iPad, and basically it was a song idea that I've had around for a while, and I always loved the melodies of it and the vibe of it. So I tried to put on a couple other albums, it didn't work, but this song we consider the ballad of the album. It's not really a ballad, but it's a mid-tempo, kind of Rainbow in the Dark tempo, but it's not really, like a hard rocker. It's got great melodies and really cool hooks and all that. So again, we went into the studio with the Okai sisters, me and Vinny, and we put this song down, and we used the Okai sisters as the foundation for this song. So pretty much, we were thinking about, well, what could we do on this song? Who could we, I knew that Jim Queen was going to help rewrite, basically, I had the melody. He was going to add to the melody and write the lyrics, and I also had the chorus. So he was going to add lyrics to the chorus and add lyrics to the melody. So I know he was doing that. So while he was doing that, I was thinking of who I can get to play some cool guitar on. And over the last year, I was doing a project with Bumblefoot, and so I asked Bumblefoot if he would play on the record. And what a gentleman he is. He said, "Oh, gladly, just let me know. Send me the track. I'll gladly do it." Yeah, I love Bumblefoot. Ron, he's such a nice guy. So I sent him the track, and he sent me back an abundance of guitar tracks. I mean, really an abundance of it. We had to figure out what to use and what not to use, because there were so many good things. And he replayed the rhythm that the Mayuko Okai, the original Okai Sisters guitarist, played. And but we did leave her sister, Tsumi, on the bass, because she played a great bass part. And what we were trying to do was get our friends on there, just to give it a bit more name value and make it more of a party, more of a fun album where when people read it, they go, oh, wow, he's on it, wow, this is cool. And it's always, I've always done albums like that ended up being a lot of fun. So, guest star albums, ever since like the 70s, we've been doing stuff like that. So we had that combination of people on it, and then Jim Crean came through, as I knew he would, with some great lyrics and little additions to the melody that embellished the melody a lot. And when he would do a vocal, he would send it to me, and I would say, yeah, why don't you try this over there, or do this over here, and make it a little more energetic over here, or follow the guitar, or whatever. Now, the only weird thing that didn't happen, or the thing that should have happened that didn't happen, in the middle section, it was supposed to be a wave drum solo that Vinny was going to do. But then, in doing the background vocals and in putting on what Ron Bumblefoot put on, which was very beautiful guitar things in the middle, and what Jim Crean put on, it sounded like that drum thing would have been out of place, and it gave us more of a sort of a moody In the Night, like you think of the song In the Night, a very quiet, serene, kind of mystical kind of night. That's what it gave us, So we kind of left it that way, and brought the chorus back in strong, And this was one of the tracks that I played on. So the drums were down the center, and my drums were analog. But Vinny had a lot to do with the engineering parts and preparing all the tracks and preparing everything to send to Jim, preparing everything to send to Bumblefoot, preparing everything to send to Steve, our mixer. So Vinny was the actual, on the tracks he didn't play on, he was still heavily involved, and where I, on the other hand, the tracks I didn't play on, I was more heavily involved in melodies and lyrics if I wasn't playing. So it was a good balance, and this is how the whole album worked, and it was great. So In the Night came out great, and I'm glad I got it out and out of my system as well.
Very interesting story how we came up with the song In the Night. It's a song that Carmine had been kicking around since the early 80s, as far as the guitar parts and the arrangement, but we really never had a solid melody to it. So he sent me the music, and we both kicked around some ideas, and then one night me and him sat up all night over the phone just coming up with a melody, and Carmine hummed it out for me and came up with a really great melody for it. And then I put the words to his melody. And I think that if the song would have came out back in the 80s, I think this would have been easily certified gold #1 hit. It's just got great hooks and great melody to it, and it's really catchy.
Future Past was a song that started with Vinny's really heavy drum groove, a very Black Sabbath, slow down, grungy, sluggish kind of drum groove that had a really cool sound to it and a cool vibe. And Vinny sent that to Craig Coldy to put a song to it, And the groove had different drum parts and the different sections. So Craig put it together, and after a long wait, weeks went by, and we're like, Vinny, where's the song by Craig? Are we going to get it or what, And he finally put it all together, and I was going to try and play this guitar snare drum that I do, on that song, but when I did it, it didn't sound good, So I said, maybe this should be your song to play, Vin, And then we ended up putting, Greg played bass on it, and we put Tony Franklin on it, but there was some bits that Greg didn't like what Tony did, so there's a combination of Tony Franklin and Craig Goldie playing bass on that track. And Craig got a vocalist to sing it, and this kid was like really, really good. I don't know if he was new. I don't know if he was not new. You know, I don't know where he came from, but he was definitely a friend of Greg's. And his name was Scotty Bruce. And when I heard that vocal, I said, wow, this guy is great. You know, and the content of the lyrics were really cool. You know? So then, again, Vinny had to act as the engineer and put all the pieces together and get it all ready for mixing. And we didn't do any background vocals. On other songs, I was involved, you know, in a lot of the background vocals with my buddy from the studio in New Jersey. It was, his name was John, and he also sang Brothers in Drums. But John Caridi, really good singer, and we did a lot of the backgrounds. But on this future track, Future Past, I'm sorry, Scotty, it sounds like he did all the vocals, and it was such a great keyboard part that Craig put on it. It was so eerie and weird and beautiful at the same time. It was a great, great chord he put behind the guitar riff. I loved it. As soon as I heard it, I said, man, that is cool. You know, and it really gives Vinny a chance to shine doing that Sabbathy, sluggish, you know, really slow, big, fat drum sound. And that's what it sounds like.
One more song was called Future Past, and that was a drum feel that I sent Craig Goldie. He wrote some changes to it, sent it back, and then we went from there. We kept going back and forth until we came upon a great structure again. So we put that together, and then we had Tony playing bass, Tony Franklin on that, and some of the parts of the bass were played by Craig Goldie too. So that was a song that was totally done from a drum feel, and then we looped the drums from an earlier session I did with Jeff Pilson, and then Craig played over that, Tony played over that, and that's that.
You Got Me Running was a song that started, probably 2011 when I was on tour with Cactus in Europe. And I had just gotten my iPad with GarageBand, and I started writing songs on it. And I started writing this song with the cool guitar riff and, you know, a B3 on it and all this really cool stuff. And then, you know, I had it, and it was in my iPad. Then in 2012, when I was on tour with Vinny doing Drum Wars in Europe, I had that track, and I said, you know, I'd love to do a vocal for this already. You know, I got to get a vocal. So I started singing some words and started singing some stuff, and, you know, and things came to my head, and the title, You Got Me Running, you know, You Got Me Running, came to my head, and it sang well. And I saw something last night on Phil Collins, how he wrote In the Air Tonight, where the voices just, his vocal just started singing, and he just started singing to In the Air Tonight, and he didn't even know what he was singing about. But some words sing well, and that's really what started happening. And then I fine-tuned some of the vocals, and I sang it. It was like 3 in the morning. I was in Czech Republic. I was in this really crazy-looking hotel. Vinny was next to us sleeping. I was trying not to wake him up, so I was singing very softly into the iPad, and it was really funny that, you know, because when you sing soft, you can't get anything out of your voice. When I listened back to it the next day, I heard the melodies, I heard some of the lyrics, and I heard, you know, the beginnings of a really cool song. It's been on my iPad ever since. So when we became, interested in doing songs for the Sinister album, I said to Vinny, look, I got this one song that I wrote the lyrics when we were on tour in Europe, and I wrote the melody, so it kind of fits into what we're doing. So let me send it to you, see if you like it. So I sent it to Vinny, and he thought it was a cool song. He loved the riff, he loved the playing aspect of it. The drum groove was different, it wasn't very normal. And so then I sent it to our manager, he liked it as well. So we said, okay, well, we'll do it. So when we got into the 1 or 2 days rehearsal that we did have with the Appice sisters to go over the songs, I played it for the first time with a live band, and it sounded great. It really did sound good. Now, of course, this is a song that I wanted to sing because I wrote it. By this time, I had fine-tuned the lyrics so the lyrics made some sense. And when we went in to record it, we did record it at Jorgen's studio again with the girls. And in the end, we left Mayuko on there, and we put Tony Franklin on bass, and we left Mayuko's rhythm guitars, and we left T-Bone on there as well, playing the solos. And it came out great. I mean, I was so pleased with the way it came out. The only weird thing for me was when I went to do the vocal, I wasn't in that great a shape voice-wise because I had allergies going on. And there was a middle part where I was singing with the guitar in the up-tempo section where I was hitting notes that I didn't normally hit. I changed the melody there because I couldn't hit the note I wanted. And I wasn't really happy with that. But now I actually got used to it, and I thought it came out better because the last note I hit was a sort of a different change on the chord. So it went really well with it. So then again, all this stuff was given to Vinny, and Vinny had to prepare it all to get mixed and make sure that we had everything we needed and all the calculations were correct, the Pro Tools, you know, the sessions and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, it took me a few years to get it out, as in the night, but we finally got it out, and a lot of people have been telling me that they love the vocal and they actually love the song. And I love the rhythm of the song, you know, and the bass part and the rhythm of the actual guitar and bass riff, which I wrote on a damn iPad. That was crazy. So there you go. Now the song Brothers in Drums was another one of those songs that I thought we'd both play before it was even a song, because it was a really cool riff. Tony Franklin was on it, and it was a really cool riff. I love playing with Tony, and Vinny already did the drum track, and it would just be like me doing the opposite on what Vinny did a bunch of times, which was take what he played and double it or play against him or play it with him and, you know, do counter rhythms around him. So, you know, as we left it to that, we were trying to get the vocal on it, and we really didn't have anybody that was going to do the vocal. I'm not sure if I had asked Doug Pinnick to maybe try one, but as I said before, Doug Pinnick didn't have enough time to do anything, so it was left up to us to do it. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll get Jim Crean or Paul or Chaz West to try and do a vocal. And then one day I said, you know what, I'm just going to try and see what I could do with it, because, you know, if I don't end up playing on it, at least I could end up singing it and maybe writing the melody and the lyrics. Because, you know, I have done that many times in my life, you know, including You Got Me Running, the last song we talked about. So I sat down on the computer with the track, and I put it in my GarageBand, and I started messing around with different ideas, and there's the part that goes do 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 do, you know, which is the guitar part. So I thought, you know, that would be really cool, going like whoa 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 whoa, you know, that kind of thing, like an 80s song, you know. And then after I sang that, this thing came to mind, like, we're brothers in drums. Whoa, we're brothers in drums. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We're brothers in drums, you know. And I said, wow, this is really cool, you know. Then I said, okay, so I got to start on it now. Usually the hardest part of a song is getting the chorus, because once you find the chorus, then you could say, okay, now let's tell the story of what the chorus is about, why it's the chorus. So that was easy. So I said, I'm going to tell the story of me and Vinny. And that's what I did. The opening line, it started in Brooklyn, way down on 41st Street. It was me and my family. trying to figure out what we want to be. And there was no little Vinny when I started to play. You know, things like that. And then, you know, I put in there, when I went home that day and saw Vinny playing, my mother said, he's driving me crazy, just like you did. So, to me, that was like a cool part of the song. So, and then I sent this song to Jim Crean. I said, you know, maybe you could add a couple of little tidbits here and there to enlighten it. So he came up with, it's in our blood with the brothers in drum, now we play for you. You know, now we play as one. All right, so the day we went to record it was that same day, or actually the day before the day I recorded You Got Me Running. And my voice just was not anywhere good that day. My sinuses were bad, my allergies were bad. It was just not good. So, you know, I had already sent the a demo like of the song with the lyrics and everything to Vinny, and he loved it, and the manager loved it, and Jim Crean loved it. So I said, I'm going to go in and sing it. So when I got to the studio, I started warming up. I tried to sing the song a few times, and my voice just didn't have the grit that I wanted. You know, it just didn't have the sound. So I said, you know, but we got to get this done. I have to get this done. So my buddy, John Caridi, who was helping me produce the vocals, and he did a bunch of background vocals for me. The whoa, 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 whoa. He did all that with me, and he did the backgrounds for You Got Me Running. I said, John, why don't you try and sing it? Because my voice actually sucks right now. So he said, you sure? I go, yeah, why don't you try and sing it? So he went in, and we gave him the lyrics, and you know, he's been watching me try and sing, so he knew the melody. And he went in and sang it, and it sang great, and he sang it great, and the song really came to life. And I said, wow, this is really cool. Now, I'm so glad that I messed around with this song on the computer at home, because otherwise we'd still be wondering what kind of song or what the song was going to be about. Now it's taken a whole new, you know, outlook on everything. You know, it's like brothers in drums. It's like really became part of the record, part of everything we did. Vinny played it by himself. I wrote the melody and the lyrics, and it really became a brotherly song, you know. Together we wrote this, and very proud of it. So that's how that one happened.
Brothers in Drums was another idea from Iggy. He sent over some riffs, and I put them together on a computer into some format that sounded like a good structure, and then I put drums to it. And then I sent it over to Tony Franklin. He put bass on it, and we had a good idea of a song, but we didn't have any vocals. So I played it for Carmine. He liked it, and then he went ahead and wrote lyrics to it and had his friend John sing on it, and it became a good song, which is about Carmine and I growing up together. Very good. Brothers in Drums.
The last track is called the Sabbath Mash. Now, we've been doing this Sabbath Mash live for probably about 2 years or so. And so we wanted to, again, do something historical for each of us. Mine was Riot, and Vinny's was going to be the Sabbath Mash. Originally, we were going to play it together, but then when we came up with more of the idea and the concept of us playing our historical songs by ourselves, and it was a natural for Vinny to do the Sabbath Mash. Even though I played the same songs with Ozzy when I was with Ozzy, and when Vinny was with Sabbath, he's played the same songs with Dio. So it was pretty wild. But when we started doing it, we had the Appice sisters in the studio, and we started talking about the fact that they, you know, in between rehearsals and recording, they would give lessons. We thought it was guitar and bass lessons, but we found out they're both accomplished classical pianists. So we said, let's hear you play something. So they played something in the studio, and it was amazing. I said, wow, you guys are incredible. So we had this idea to do, when we went up to the Paranoid section, the Paranoid had a guitar solo normally. So we said, why don't we, instead of doing a guitar solo, why don't we do a classical piano solo to the changes that are in Paranoid? that might be really interesting. So we all kicked it around and all thought, well, let's give it a crack, So we did. So when that solo came around, Mayuko, I believe, was the one that actually played it. And she played a classical piano solo around the changes of Paranoid. And then we said, you know what, it might be really cool to put cellos and stuff on there and make it really a little more classical. So we subtly did add cellos. Eric Neuenlanger actually put a whole cello arrangement on there, and we had to tone it down a little bit because it got a bit too much cellos. And we had to tone it down. And the drums that Vinny put on that track was my drum set done at Jorgen's studio. And I think that's the only drum track that he did that might be analog. Because once we finished the drums in Jorgen's studio, we bounced them to analog. And I was going to actually play on the track again, but when we decided to keep it singular, then Vinny was the one. So on the track you have the Appice sisters bass and drums. You got Vinny playing drums. Bass and guitar, sorry. You got Vinny playing drums. You got Mayuko Appice sister playing the keyboard solo. And then we also brought in Eric Turner, played on that track. And at the end, after Paranoid, there's a guitar solo, which was split between Mayuko and Eric. And that happened because Vinny lives in an area of California where Tony Franklin lives, and Eric Turner lives there. And so Eric and Vinny were friends, and he came over to Vinny's studio one day and what's going on, and he told him what's going on. He said, oh man, I'd love to play on the track. So Vinny thought it might be a good track for him to play on it. He did a couple of really nice guitar things that changed a bit of the vibe of the song as well. And then at the end of the song, Vinny said, why don't we put this crazy tape we have, because we always have the hassle with the name, Appice or Appice. So I've been saying, just call it APPICE. And so we have this crazy intro tape with, it has Rick Savage, the wrestler, and a bunch of different people going, it's Appice, it's Appice, it's Appice, it's Appice. So we thought we'd put that at the end of the album, at the end of the Sabbath Mash, and just fade it really softly so people can hear it and go, oh, what was that, So it made it a little fun. So that's how this whole Sabbath Mash got together, and I'm sure Vinny's got some good stories about it as well.
Sabbath Mash was an idea I had when we were doing the live shows. I thought it would be more interesting to put a bunch of Sabbath songs together into one big giant song than to just play like the whole song of Paranoid or something like that. So we started doing it live, and it really turned out to be something special. Then when we went to record it, we had the Okai sisters, Mayuka, put on a crazy classical piano solo in the middle of it, and came out great. It's a really weird place for a piano solo, especially classical, but it works.